The mere exposure effect. Have you ever found yourself drawn to something simply because you've seen it before? Maybe it's a song you first heard years ago, or a piece of art you passed by without noticing but later realized you loved. This is the mere exposure effect, your mind's secret way of telling you that familiarity feels like safety. The more you see or hear something, even in passing, the more comfortable and likable it becomes. Tonight, think of how this might happen gently, like getting used to warm sunlight on your skin. Each glance, each brief moment adds a tiny stitch of comfort, weaving familiarity into affection. Perhaps that once ordinary melody softly loops in your mind now, warming your heart like an old memory. Or a gentle scent that you barely registered before now brings a smile to your face. Your mind quietly builds a bond with the familiar, guiding you to favorite the cozy corners of your life. Have you noticed how you often return to the same cozy cafe or favorite park bench? Maybe you ordered that familiar dish because you knew you loved it, or reread a chapter of a book that you once fell for. Each experience was familiar, and your mind quietly said, "Yes, I like this." It's as if your brain collects moments like seashells on the shore, and when you stumble upon a shell you found before, it feels extra special, like meeting an old friend. Imagine yourself as a traveler discovering new paths. Every time you take the same path again, maybe through a forest or a familiar city street, the way feels more inviting. The path isn't different, but you are, because each prior journey has woven it into the fabric of your memories. That is the mere exposure effect in action, your mind lovingly stitching each repeated experience into a comforting tapestry. As you drift with this awareness, notice how the familiar enters your daily life without effort, like gentle whispers in the breeze. Let this comfort settle in. Take a deep breath and stay curious as we continue this gentle exploration. Cognitive dissonance. Now imagine your mind like a calm pond. When two stones are thrown in, like holding one belief but acting in another way, it ripples. This ripple is called cognitive dissonance, the mental tug-of-war when your thoughts and actions dawn to fully align. In that gentle tug, your brain works quietly to smooth things over. Perhaps you promised yourself one thing and then did another, leaving an uneasy feeling. Maybe you told a small lie, or you pretended something was okay when it wasn't. Your mind doesn't like that uncomfortable ripple. Without you noticing, it may whisper a story or shift a belief to make the waters still again. Think of a time when you faced this. Suppose you decided you would exercise more, but instead, you spent the day resting. You might feel a subtle discomfort, like the water in the pond just stirred slightly. To ease that feeling, you might tell yourself, "Rest is good for my muscles too." Or, "I really needed the break." Your mind is trying to find peace in the ripples, nudging your beliefs or actions to match each other better. Another example, imagine you felt someone wronged you, but you smiled politely instead of saying how you felt. Later, your mind might reason, "They probably had a hard day or didn't mean to hurt me." This gentle reframe settles the conflict inside you. It's not that you're lying to yourself. You're easing the tension with compassion. This soothing sometimes works in your favor in reverse, too. If you hold a belief about yourself, say that you are kind, you might go out of your way to do something generous after feeling even a tiny selfish thought. Your mind will guide you back to harmony. If you're ever unsure after a tough choice, remember this. Perhaps deep down, part of you knew the right path. Feel the pond settle. As the sun sets in this picture, the ripples fade and calm returns. Each ripple was part of your mind's care to protect your comfort. Take another slow breath, allow this understanding to wash over you, and allow these thoughts to settle in your mind as we softly move to another quiet filter your mind uses to paint the world in familiar hues. Confirmation bias. As you gently drift from the idea of inner harmony, imagine now how your mind likes to confirm what it already believes. Confirmation bias is like a cozy blanket that wraps around your thoughts. When you trust something to be true, your mind quietly gathers friends for that belief, noticing everything that agrees and gently overlooking the rest. Picture this. You have a cozy belief about yourself, perhaps that you're a kind person or a brave soul. Your mind then lovingly remembers and highlights moments when you were indeed caring or courageous, and those moments stand out brightly. Meanwhile, contradictory moments might fade softly into the background, like stars hidden by city lights. You begin to see your world through this warm blanket, where what you expect is what you find. Consider a different scenario. If you truly believe your favorite team will win, you might focus on every play they make and cheer, noticing only highlights and barely registering the times they stumble. Or, if you trust that your best friend supports you completely, you'll recall every encouraging word they've said, and any silence might be simply forgotten. It is as if a soft song of assurance plays only the notes that fit the melody you believe in. Maybe you've noticed this in your daily life. When reading social media or watching news, the posts that match what you think will catch your eye and feel comforting, while opposing ideas might barely register to you. In conversations, you'll likely remember the arguments that affirm your side and barely recall those that challenge you. It's like watching a film that fits the script your mind has already written. This gentle filter is nothing to fight you experience it every day. It's your mind's way of keeping you comfortable in what you know. It's like wearing warm slippers on a cold night. Everything feels right and snug. Remember, we all share this habit. It's part of being human. Feel how easily you find more of what you believe in your mind's soft glow. Let yourself rest in that warmth for a moment, knowing this is just how your mind works. Consider how this might affect your relationships too. If you expect someone to be kind, small gestures will stand out and reinforce that image. It's like you're wearing glasses colored by your beliefs. As you settle into this realization, we'll turn next to another small, everyday wonder of the mind. The spotlight effect. Imagine you are walking into a quiet room, holding your favorite mug. You might feel like everyone notices the new spot of coffee on your shirt, as if a spotlight is shining on you. In reality, they probably don't notice. This feeling is the spotlight effect, the mind's tendency to overestimate how much attention people pay to you. Your mind likes to put you in the center of a gentle stage. When you make a little mistake, you may feel like it echoes in the room, even though others barely glanced your way. This is your brain's way of caring about you, wanting to protect you from embarrassment or harm. It means you think others see you more clearly than they truly do, which can feel heavy and uncomfortable, as if you are always seen. Tonight, let that feeling pass. Picture yourself as a calm actor in your own quiet play. Everyone else in the room has their own small stage, their own story. They are likely too focused on their own lines and actions to focus much on you. When you imagine how softly each person is focused inward, the weight on your shoulders lightens. You begin to understand that most of the world is gently wrapped up in their own thoughts, not watching you as closely as you might imagine. Think of a time you walked into a group and felt sure all eyes were on you. Perhaps you were wearing a bright color or felt nervous about a new haircut, and suddenly you felt exposed. Later, when you reflect, you realize only a couple of glances, if any, were given maybe just out of normal courtesy. Or imagine giving a presentation. You might remember the one question you fumbled, thinking it ruined the talk. In reality, the audience was likely forgiving, and you might not even have noticed that moment. Sometimes, even if someone does notice something about you, they often understand why, like, "Oh, I spilled coffee," and they don't think anything of it. People usually focus on themselves. If you cover your coffee stain with a calm smile or shrug it off, chances are many others didn't even see it to begin with. Think of another scenario. Walking into a classroom full of peers. Maybe you believe everyone sees the pimple on your forehead or your morning hair. But you'd be surprised, most likely, everyone's minds are busy in their own world. That self-conscious feeling you had quickly dissolves. When you realize the truth, feel how your concerns float away. Notice the peaceful idea that you are mostly walking through your own life, and everyone else is largely doing the same. Take a gentle breath, and as this lightness stays with you, let's drift onward to another curious trick of perception. The frequency illusion. Have you ever looked up a word you didn't know, only to see it everywhere on billboards, books, and conversations in the days that follow? This is called the frequency illusion, or the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Your mind plays this quiet trick of suddenly noticing something, making it feel like it's appearing all around you. It's not that the thing magically appears more often. It's that your mind is paying closer attention. Imagine your mind as a garden. Once a certain flower catches your eye, you begin to notice it growing in many corners of your garden. Before, you just walked right past it without a thought. Now, that flower seems to pop up everywhere you look, though it was always there waiting. So tonight, consider what new flowers your mind has started noticing. Perhaps it's the sound of a distant train, whistle you hadn't paid attention to before, or a comforting phrase in a book, or the name of an old friend that suddenly seems to appear on the TV or in conversation. After learning something new, you might see it reappear in unexpected places. A word, a song lyric, or even a pattern of clouds in the sky. The more you register them, the more they bloom in your awareness. It's almost like the world has given them special spotlight, but really it's your focus that's changed. Think about how this feels as a part of your everyday life. Maybe after learning a new word, you suddenly hear it in conversation multiple times in a single day. Or after seeing a particular car, you notice that make and model often on the road. It can feel a bit magical, like the universe is winking at you. But really, it's just your brain doing its job, making sure you don't miss something that might be important to you. You might even feel a quiet thrill at this connection, like the world became a little more familiar knowing your mind is at play. Every now and then, your attention shifts naturally. And when it does, familiar things pop up all around you like friendly reminders. It's one of your mind's simple joys to share with you. Let this awareness settle in gently. Carry this warmth in your mind as we gently proceed to the next discovery. Change blindness. Your mind is so busy processing what it already knows that sometimes it misses things right in front of you. Change blindness is a gentle reminder of this. Large changes in a scene can go unnoticed if you're not looking for them. Imagine two nearly identical pictures on the wall. At first glance, you might not notice the subtle differences between them. In daily life, this happens when something in your environment changes and you simply never see it because your mind focused elsewhere. Perhaps a friend gets a haircut or moves furniture in the room, and yet on your next glance, you didn't even notice. It's not because you're not paying attention, it's because your mind efficiently filters out what it deems unnecessary or expected. Tonight, think of all the small changes you might overlook. A new book on a shelf that wasn't there before, a plant that grew slightly taller overnight, or the tiny change in someone's expression that might mean a lot. Each moment, your mind is looking at the bigger picture, allowing these subtle changes to slip by quietly. It is as if the world softly rearranges itself in whispers, and your brain gently chooses which whispers to listen to. This mechanism can be comforting. Your mind is overwhelmed by every small shift, which keeps your mental space calm. Like watching a favorite movie over and over, you might not notice every minor detail changing each time, yet the feeling of comfort remains. And when you do spot a change, maybe a new vase on the table or a reshaped shadow in the twilight, it can feel like a little surprise waiting to be discovered. Imagine stepping outside after a nap and not noticing how the sky has changed from blue to pink until you pause and gaze up. Or think of someone quietly entering the room. You might not catch them entering, but when they say hello, your awareness snaps to the present. Your mind saved you from noticing the empty hall, focusing instead on important sounds. Notice how this shield keeps you centered. Your brain chooses what to highlight and what to let fade. For now, let this realization sit softly in your mind, and let's quietly wander onward to the next marvel of your mind's secret code: inattentional blindness. Now, imagine a busy scene, perhaps a calm street or a kitchen as you cook where your focus is on one task. Inattentional blindness is when your mind is so immersed in that task that it doesn't see other things happening around it. For example, you might be texting while walking and be completely unaware of the gentle breeze on your face, or humming a tune so softly that you don't hear a friend calling your name at the door. Or maybe you were reading a page with great interest, yet you haven't noticed the soft ticking of a clock in the background or the gentle music playing in the living room. Your brain is amazing at tuning out everything unnecessary when it concentrates. It is not missing out on the world. It is giving you the focus you need. Just as a camera blurs the background to emphasize the subject, your mind lets most of the background fade so you can fully immerse in the foreground. That's why listening to a favorite story can feel so absorbing. You might not even notice the sound of the rain outside until you remind yourself to listen for it. Remember the classic experiment with the basketball players passing the ball and a hidden person in a gorilla suit strolling through. None of the players noticed the gorilla because they were counting passes. That is inattentional blindness. A large, obvious figure can be completely invisible if we aren't looking for it. Consider moments in daily life. You might wave at your friend outside a cafe and be so focused on talking to her that you never notice someone else standing quietly right beside her. Or you might be deep in thought and not even hear the doorbell ring when someone visits. It's not that you're careless, it's just the way your focus works like a gentle spotlight that highlights what matters most at that moment. Notice how you can fully concentrate on one thing and let the rest fade into quiet. Feel gratitude for this clarity and focus. As this concentration drifts away like a soft cloud, let's continue our journey to the next insight, resting in your mind's secret code. The Dunning-Kruger effect. Every once in a while, your mind might trick you into feeling more confident than you should. This is known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, when someone with limited experience or knowledge believes they are much more capable than they really are. Imagine you're learning a new song on a guitar. At first, when you grasp a few chords, you feel like a rock star, convinced you can play the whole song flawlessly. But as you practice more challenging parts, you realize there's much more to learn. Your initial confidence was like a bright spark at the start, which then softened as you saw more details of the tune. This gentle glow of confidence at the beginning can keep you going when things are hard. It's your brain giving you a little push and a smile, encouraging you to try what you think you can do. Perhaps you wrote a few lines of code and felt like a computer wizard, only to discover there's an entire library of knowledge beyond it. But that's okay, because it means you're on a journey of learning. This effect is not a flaw, it happens to all of us. When you're new at something, it is easy to overestimate how much you know, simply because there's so much you haven't discovered yet. Think of the first time you bake a cake. You might measure a bit of flour and eggs and feel certain you know everything until the final result teaches you there were steps you missed. The key is to embrace that spark of confidence as a positive light, then let knowledge gently fill in the details as you grow. As your mind acknowledges this, it can learn to balance confidence with curiosity. Feel proud of that spark of belief in yourself, and then allow humility as you learn more. The cycle of feeling sure and then learning more is all part of growth. If you're ever unsure, remember, every expert was once a beginner. Now, let's gently wander to the next thought, carrying this understanding with us. The sunk cost fallacy. Sometimes your mind makes you stick with something just because you've already put effort, time, or money into it. This is called the sunk cost fallacy. Imagine you've started a book that turned out boring, but you continue reading, just because you spent $5 on it or 2 hours already. You do it even though you might enjoy something else more. Tonight, picture gently yourself at a quiet table, perhaps with a partially finished meal in front of you. You have a piece of cake you no longer enjoy. You paid for it already, so you feel it's a waste to leave it untouched. But remember, your happiness and comfort matter more. You could simply set it aside and listen to your mind saying it's okay to change your course. Your mind sometimes clings to the past investment, as if by not moving on, it could somehow get those minutes or dollars back. It's like noticing a beautiful toy you bought, but then feeling obliged to play with it every day, even if it no longer brings joy, simply because you spent money on it. Or forcing yourself to finish a movie long after it stopped being interesting, just because you started it. Consider people you've known. Perhaps you've stayed in a job you disliked because you had already invested years there. Your mind might tell you, I should stick it out since I've come this far. Yet when you gently examine it, you realize those years are not lost. They can guide you to something better. Recognizing this frees you. It's all right to start fresh. Focus instead on what truly nourishes your spirit now, rather than on costs sunk in the past. You deserve comfort and happiness, even if it means letting go of something you've paid for. Sometimes setting something aside opens the space for a better experience. Let this understanding lighten your mind. Remember, sometimes the best investment is choosing joy in this moment. With that in mind, let's gently wander to the next insight, the placebo effect. Your mind has a special kind of magic power, the power to heal or hurt you simply through belief. When you take a sugar pill but feel better, it's called the placebo effect. And if you expect to feel worse and then do, that's sometimes called the nocebo effect. These are the ways your mind quietly turns belief into experience. Tonight, think about times when you believed something would make you feel better, and it actually did. Maybe a warm cup of tea, and the thought that it would soothe you truly eased your mind. Perhaps trusting that a good night's sleep will refresh you made you feel more rested even before you woke up. Or consider taking a simple vitamin and immediately feeling a tiny boost of well-being that belief alone can spark real feeling. On the flip side, imagine feeling anxious about a storm coming. Sometimes the worry itself can create tension in your body, even if the storm poses no real threat. Your mind and body are like close friends. When your mind whispers a message, I will be healed, your body often listens. Picture yourself taking a harmless pill and genuinely feeling relief afterwards. You're not tricking yourself. You're engaging your own inner strength, letting your beliefs give your body gentle encouragement to heal or relax. This effect shows how powerful belief can be. Your expectations alone can sometimes lighten pain or boost your mood. Feel the warmth of this realization. The power was within you all along, like a cozy ember glowing quietly. Take a deep breath and stay curious as we continue this gentle exploration. Now, let's softly step toward the next pattern the mind gently weaves for us. The bystander effect. Even when someone needs help, your mind can sometimes mislead you. The bystander effect happens when you're in a group and assume someone else will step forward. As a result, everyone hesitates, waiting for someone else to act. Imagine someone on a quiet street trips and falls. Each passerby might think, "Surely someone else will check if they're okay." Everyone feels that way, so no one actually goes to help right away. It's not because people don't care, it's just how your mind diffuses responsibility among many. You might see others around and think it is safer or more polite to wait, but in truth, each of you quietly hopes someone else will take the lead. In another example, think of a classroom with a mess that needs cleaning. If a pile of papers falls, each student might wait for someone else to pick them up, reasoning, "Another student will do it." Your mind whispers, "It'll be all right. Someone else noticed too." And the mess might sit a little longer as everyone hesitates. Tonight, picture a warm situation. Maybe an elderly person slips or someone's wallet falls on the ground. If you feel your mind pulling you back, they'll manage. Recognize that quiet tug. It just means your mind expects the group to collectively care. But remember, anyone can be the one to step forward. Even a small gesture can make a big difference, and often it's up to one person to break the quiet understanding. Sometimes you might notice this in yourself. Perhaps you see a friend call out for help and wait for someone else to respond. When you do step in to help, you often feel quietly proud. It's a gentle reminder that while your mind might share the load, you can still choose to act. Remember, the next time you see someone who might need help, it could be your moment to gently step forward and end the hesitation. Now, let's drift onto another hidden facet of perception. The halo effect. Your mind often paints people and things with a gentle light. If you see one positive trait, it can spread a glow to everything else. This is called the halo effect. For example, if a friend is always kind to you, you might also assume they are wise or trustworthy, even without evidence. Or if a teacher has a warm smile, you might believe they are also a great cook or a music lover, all because that smile makes them seem friendly overall. Tonight, think of someone you admire, perhaps a teacher, a parent, or a friend. Your mind might already see them as almost perfect because they have qualities you love. When you see someone act generously, your brain may unconsciously add other good traits to them, like creativity or intelligence, as if their kindness created a halo around them. Even noticing one wonderful thing about them can color everything else you know about them in a positive light. Now, consider the opposite. If someone starts with something that irritates you, your mind might let that small detail overshadow all their goodness. But remember, everyone is a mixture of strengths and flaws. It's okay to appreciate the glow your mind sees. It's your brain's way of creating harmony and trust. This way, your mind quickly builds pictures of the people around you so you feel more at ease. Feel the glow this effect creates. It's comforting to walk around with those gentle halos. As you carry this warmth, let's continue our journey to the next wonder your mind has in store. The false consensus effect. Your mind sometimes assumes everyone is on the same page as you. This is the false consensus effect. When you hold a belief, you might naturally believe that most people think the same way you do. Imagine you love a certain song and you play it quietly while sitting alone in a car. Your mind might assume everyone in other cars around you hears it and feels the same joy. Or perhaps you believe a certain movie is excellent and you think, surely everyone finds it as entertaining as I do. Maybe you start your morning with coffee and assume everyone feels they need that same morning ritual. In these moments, your mind wraps its own preferences around the world like a warm blanket. This gentle bias makes you feel more connected and less alone. It is comforting to think that others share your perspective. When finishing a favorite book or movie, you probably feel certain that anyone who reads or watches it would love it as much as you did. But in reality, each person has their own unique tastes and experiences. Your mind's assumption is just a friendly guess, not a guarantee. Maybe on this quiet night, you reflect on a decision you made. If it turned out well, you might think, well, anyone would have done the same thing. This is your mind reinforcing the idea that your choice was obvious. If something didn't go your way, you might assume everyone would avoid that mistake if they knew, not realizing that others might have chosen differently based on their feelings. Feel the quiet comfort of belonging this effect can give. You are imagining harmony with others, and that's kind of peaceful. Now, as we cherish this sense of shared understanding, let's drift together to the next wonder your mind has in store. Pareidolia. Sometimes your mind finds patterns even when none were meant to be there. Pareidolia is seeing shapes, often faces, where they aren't intentionally placed. Think of those times you've spotted a face in the clouds, in the front grille of a car, or even in the burnt toast in the morning. Your brain loves patterns, especially faces. It's like a soothing game it plays to make sense of the world. Maybe tonight, as you drift, you might look at the stars and see an animal or a familiar constellation shape. If you close your eyes in the dark, you might still notice shapes behind your eyelids, clouds, colors, or even faces. That's your mind finding familiar images in randomness. This trick shows how creative and imaginative your mind is, but it can also make you see things that aren't really there. Like hearing your own name whispered in the wind when it's really just the rustling leaves, or seeing a smiling face in a patch of moss on a tree. These moments can feel magical, like little friendly winks from the universe, or just a funny quirk of perception. On this calm night, smile at these gentle illusions. They remind us that our world is painted by the colors of our imagination. If you stare at a passing cloud long enough, you might see a shape that makes you happy, and that is a tiny gift from your mind. Now, let's gently drift toward the next hidden quirk of your mind as secret code. The gambler's fallacy. Your mind loves patterns so much that sometimes it even tries to predict random events. The gambler's fallacy is the belief that if something happens more frequently than normal during a given period, it will happen less frequently in the future, or vice versa. Imagine you flip a coin and it lands heads 5 times in a row. You might feel certain that the next flip will be tails because surely it must balance out. Or you might play a slot machine and tell yourself, my turn for a win is coming. In reality, each flip or spin is completely independent, yet your mind drifts into expecting balance. Think about waiting for a bus in the rain if 2 have already passed. You might start to believe the next one will arrive very soon. Or if a friend has forgotten to text after 2 days, you might think, surely they will reach out tomorrow, even if there is no guarantee. Each moment is new, but our brain sometimes tricks us into thinking it needs to even things out. This is not something to worry about. It's just another way your brain tries to keep things fair. Picture a ship tossing on the ocean. It might lean one way many times, but the ocean doesn't think it owes it a lean the other way. Yet your mind might whisper, "It needs to even out soon." Let go of this gentle urge to even things out. Remind yourself that each new moment starts fresh, unaffected by the past. As you breathe out, allow these thoughts to mingle and softly guide you to the next hidden wonder. Anchoring bias. The first information you receive often sets the tone for everything that follows. This is called anchoring bias. Your mind uses that first piece of data like an anchor, subtly influencing your thoughts on everything else. Imagine shopping for a coat. If you first see a price tag of $500, even when you move to a $300 coat, it feels like a bargain. Your mind has anchored on that first high price. Or think of being late. If you first learn someone arrived 10 minutes early to meet you, then arrive 5 minutes late, it might not seem so bad because your mind anchored on the idea that being early was already on the table. Think about how this works in daily life. If your friend greets you with a smile and compliments you first thing, you might feel like the whole conversation flows well. If, however, their first words are a small critique, it might color the rest of your chat, even if everything else they say is positive. At night, notice how your mind might still hold on to first impressions. Perhaps you watched a trailer for a movie and felt excited, so during the film, you'll notice more exciting parts. Or, if the first few lines of a book grip you with sadness, you might remember the whole story through that emotional lens. Awareness of this can help you breathe easier, reminding yourself that each new piece of information is just one star in the sky, not the whole constellation. With that calm understanding, let's gently move on to the next quiet quirk of the mind. Negativity bias. Your mind has a quiet habit of focusing on the shadows more than the light. This is called negativity bias. It means you naturally notice negative events more keenly than positive ones. Think of it like this. If someone compliments you one day and another person says something critical the next, your mind will dwell on the critical comment much longer. The good word might flutter away like a gentle breeze, but the criticism sticks in the back of your mind. It's as if your brain stores negative experiences on the front page and good experiences in the inside pages. Your brain is wired to notice what might have been a problem, as if it's a careful guard making sure everything is safe. If a branch fell near you, it's quicker to remember the loud crash than the peaceful rustle of leaves yesterday. This served our ancestors well by keeping them alert to danger. Reflect on your own day. Maybe a small worry came to mind just before sleep. Notice it, and then release it by remembering one good thing that happened instead, perhaps a smile from a stranger or a moment of laughter. Give those positive moments equal space in your memory. Your mind tends to give more weight to the storm than the sun, but you can consciously invite more sunshine thoughts. This bias helped keep you safe, highlighting problems so you'd avoid them. But you also deserve to appreciate the good. In this gentle balance, let's softly move to our next hidden pattern of thought. Groupthink. When you are part of a group, your mind often prefers harmony and agreement. This is known as groupthink. It means that sometimes your thoughts and decisions will lean toward what the group is leaning, even if you might feel differently on your own. Imagine a calm conversation at a dinner. If everyone gently nods yes to a plan, you might also say yes to avoid causing ripples in the peaceful atmosphere. Or among friends, if everyone giggles at a story, you will likely laugh too, even if it wasn't the funniest moment. It's not because you aren't being honest. It's just easier for your mind to float with the current. Think about how, when you walk into a meeting, even if you had doubts about an idea, hearing everyone agree might make you feel that perhaps it's okay to agree too. Or in a classroom, If all your classmates give the same answer, you might feel that answer is right, even if you're not completely sure. Imagine a friend group going to a certain movie. Even if you wanted a different one, you might agree to watch what everyone else chose, simply because being together feels nice. This tendency feels comforting. It keeps the group calm and united. It's your brain gently echoing the safety of the crowd. Notice how sometimes you follow along with others. It's a way of feeling connected, yet it's also okay to remember that your own quiet voice matters too. With this understanding, let's quietly float toward another hidden note in the mind's secret code: the illusion of control. Your mind craves a sense of mastery, so it sometimes creates an illusion of control. This means you might feel you have power over random events. Imagine rolling dice and, on impulse, you blow on them or gently tap them as if your small action will change the outcome. Perhaps you feel that wearing your lucky shirt will help your team win, or that sticking to a morning ritual like drinking tea before a meeting will guarantee success. You might find yourself repeating a routine and thinking it keeps you safe. It might even feel like you subconsciously steer your car away from bad drivers just by wishing it. Consider exams. Maybe you believe using a particular pencil or sitting in a favorite seat will help you do better. Even though these things have no real effect, believing they do can give you confidence. This gentle illusion springs from your mind, swished to keep you safe and successful. Picture yourself at a casino. You drop a penny into a slot machine because you believe deep down that you have some say in the spin. Or think of athletes who bounce a ball before serving, as if the ritual itself will guide their performance. In reality, some events are truly out of your hands, but believing you have some control can actually make you feel calmer. It's as if your mind is giving you an anchor when life feels unpredictable, even if the anchor only holds in your imagination. As we walk softly away from this thought, know that sometimes letting go can also bring peace. Now, let's find ourselves near another quiet doorway in this code of the mind. The self-fulfilling prophecy. Your thoughts can sometimes shape reality without you even noticing. A self-fulfilling prophecy is when what you expect to happen actually comes true, often because your mind prepares you to make it so. Imagine you wake up thinking today will be a good day. You smile more, take deep breaths, and walk with confidence. Others respond positively to your energy, and indeed, the day turns out better. Conversely, if you wake up convinced you'll mess up, your mind may make you nervous and you might actually stumble. The day unfolds exactly as you expected, because in subtle ways you made it so. For example, before giving a presentation, if you tell yourself, "I will do well," you might feel calm and project your voice clearly, leading the audience to nod along. If you start with, "I'm going to fail," you might stumble over words, fulfilling your own prediction. Believing in success helps you act in ways that achieve it. As you quietly realize this, give yourself gentle permission to expect good. Remember, every day is a new page, and by writing positive expectations, you often bring positive realities. Now, let's quietly drift toward our next insight, like a leaf floating down a gentle stream. The primacy effect. Your mind tends to remember the beginning of something more vividly. This is called the primacy effect. For example, the first few notes of a song or the first lines of a story stay with you more clearly than what follows. Think of reading a book. Often the first chapter makes a strong impression. The characters and settings stick in your mind, even if the rest of the book blends together later. Or meeting someone new, you likely remember the first thing they said, or the first impression more than what came after. That initial moment creates a kind of gateway in your memory. It's like stepping into a warm bath. The first splash of warmth is the strongest. Then the water evens out. That first sip of coffee in the morning tastes especially fresh, and your mind savors it. Similarly, the first part of any experience often feels the most intense, like the first snowfall that blankets everything in silence before the flurries that follow. Even the first time you try something, like tasting a new food or hearing a new word, your mind gives it special attention. Those first impressions can set the tone for everything that comes next. Feel how beginnings carry a soft glow in your mind. Now, let's continue softly to see what endings hold for us. The recency effect. Just as beginnings leave a mark, endings have their own gentle influence. This is the recency effect. Your mind often remembers the last part of an experience most clearly. Imagine the end of a story or movie. You might recall the final scene more vividly than any middle scene. After a long day, the last thing you did, like taking a warm shower or saying good night to a loved one, can stand out in your memory. It's the same with a conversation. The final words often linger longer. If a friend ended with a gentle goodbye, you might treasure that moment more than earlier parts of the chat. It's like finishing a meal. The last bite of ice cream you savor makes a lasting taste on your tongue, or the final note of a song. It can echo in your mind long after the song ends. Your mind holds on to those final notes or moments, giving them special weight. Notice how powerful endings can be. They wrap up your experiences and stick with you. Perhaps when you lie down tonight, think of one kind word someone said to you earlier. Let that final warmth be the last thing you remember from the day. Take a deep breath and continue gently to the next concept. The paradox of choice. Sometimes having too many options makes you feel overwhelmed instead of free. This is called the paradox of choice. When faced with many paths, your mind can slow down, as if caught in a gentle maze. Imagine standing in front of an enormous wall of books or clothes. At first, it seems exciting, all possibilities at your fingertips. But then each option weighs on your mind. Which one is best? What if I pick the wrong one? The quiet worry grows, and instead of joy, you feel stuck. You search your heart for a nudge, uncertain. Think of times when too many choices left you drained. Maybe you once stood in front of a massive buffet line and could not decide what to eat. In that moment, your mind felt like it was carrying all the weights of your choice, making you weary. Or recall being faced with dozens of flavors and spending so long deciding that you were too hungry to enjoy the meal. Your mind's gentle way of caring shows here. It wants you to choose well so you can be happy. But too many choices can feel like a heavy blanket of indecision. In such moments, reminding yourself that you can only eat one plate now and try others another day can be freeing. Trust that whatever you pick can still bring you joy in the moment. Carry this mindful simplicity with you. Take one peaceful option and trust it for now. Carry this mindful simplicity as we continue on to see what other hidden turns await. The self-serving bias. Your mind has a soft way of protecting your heart. It often takes credit for successes and deflects blame for failures. This is called the self-serving bias. Think of a situation at work or school. If you get a good grade or a compliment, you might think, I really earned that. Your mind highlights your skill or effort, but if you make a mistake, you might say, I was tired, or the test was unfair. You shift the fault away from yourself and focus on other factors. In life, you might remember the times you were kind and skilled and feel proud, while the moments you slipped up or felt embarrassed might fade or be blamed on circumstances. For example, if you excel in a game, you celebrate your talent. If you lose, you might say, I was just unlucky. This ensures that when you look in the mirror, you see mostly someone strong and capable. This bias shows how your mind softly guards your self-esteem. It's your brain gently hugging you with confidence. When you do well, you feel great about yourself. When things go wrong, your mind gives you a bit of grace. Feel the warmth of this protection. It means you care about yourself, just like a friend would. Now, carry this gentle confidence forward as we drift to the next discovery in the mind's secret code. The hindsight bias. After something happens, your mind often makes you feel like you always knew it. This is called the hindsight bias. It means your memories shift so the future seems more predictable than it really was. Imagine guessing the ending of a movie. Before you saw it, you had no idea how it would turn out. But once you see the ending, your mind whispers, "Oh, of course." You might even recall seeing hints that felt like clues, even though you didn't catch them until now. The same thing happens with small events in daily life. If you felt nervous about a decision and it worked out, your mind will recall, "I knew it would be okay all along." After a big test you passed, you might say, "Well, I knew I answered that question right," even though you were unsure at the time. This bias feels comforting. It reminds you that you might be wiser than you thought. Sometimes, your memory of past uncertainty fades, replaced by the warm glow of, "I told you so." But that is okay. It just means you're now seeing patterns more clearly after the fact. Next time you catch yourself saying, "I knew it," smile softly. Your mind is giving you a pat on the back for noticing what became clear. Now, let's drift onward to see what else awaits in the mind's calm landscape. Memory distortion. Your memories are gentle, and sometimes they change over time without you knowing. This is called memory distortion. You might confidently remember something that never happened or forget details that did. For instance, perhaps as a child you remember getting lost at a fair. Years later, that memory might shift. Maybe you now recall your parents holding your hand as you were lost, even if they actually found you on their own. Your mind is filling in gaps, smoothing edges. Or you might remember a fun party at your house as your own idea, even if your friends planned it without telling you, only to recall it that way later on. It's like a watercolor painting over time. The colors blend, and some parts blur. Each time you recall a memory, you gently repaint it in your mind, maybe adding warm colors, maybe softening lines that hurt. You might misremember a test score is higher than it was, making yourself feel a little pride. These tweaks are your brain's way of being kind. On this calm night, simply rest knowing this: every memory you have is tinted by today's light. It is part of how your mind cares for you, even if it means sometimes it's not perfectly accurate. And that is okay, because your mind is trying to keep you comfortable. Now let's gently float toward our final concept in this secret code, holding on to this gentle understanding. Cognitive overload. Your mind has limits, and sometimes doing too many things at once makes it stumble. This is cognitive overload. When you try to multitask, like answering an email while on a call, your brain quietly struggles to keep up, often making little mistakes or forgetting things. Imagine a juggler with 5 balls. They might keep them all in the air for a while, but eventually, 1 or 2 will drop. Similarly, your brain can handle several tasks at the same time, but push it too far, and it begins to fumble. Notice if you feel mentally tired after switching between tasks. Perhaps you tried to read a book while listening to music, or cooking dinner while thinking about work, and you realize it took longer than if you'd done one thing at a time. When you allow yourself to focus on one thing at a time, you often work more clearly and feel less strain. For example, after trying to clean the kitchen while writing an email, you may find you spilled something, a sign your mind was juggling too much. Remember, it's okay to take things step by step. By slowing down and focusing on each task, you actually free up your mind to be more present. Inhale slowly, hold on to this calm, and float quietly to the next idea, knowing it's all right to give yourself permission to do one thing at a time. Social proof. Your mind often looks to others when deciding what to do or believe. This is known as social proof. If everyone around you believes something or acts in a certain way, your mind takes that as a cue that it's probably right. Imagine you're in a quiet town and see a restaurant full of people. You might think, they must have good food here, and choose to eat there too. Or if many friends suddenly talk about a movie, you might trust it's worth watching. Perhaps you notice a long line at a ticket booth, and you think, wow, this must be a popular show. In these moments, your mind is learning from the world around you. It says, if everyone else is there, maybe I should pay attention too. This is your mind's way of learning. It's using the crowd as a gentle teacher. It can feel comforting to follow along. It's like walking alongside friends who know the way. Notice how sometimes you smile when others smile, or feel more relaxed when the people around you do. Because often we are all tuning into each other's emotions. If you see everyone smiling at a shared joke, you laugh too, even if you didn't catch the punchline, a silent bond. It's a reminder that we are not alone in our experiences. Observing others can guide you when you are unsure. And if you ever feel unsure, remember that it's okay to follow or to gently step back and think for yourself. Now, relax, keep this peaceful thought with you, and let's softly move to another discovery. The Zeigarnik effect. Your mind seems to hold on to unfinished tasks, making you remember them more than completed ones. This is known as the Zeigarnik effect. Think about a simple example. If you leave cookies baking in the oven and walk out of the kitchen before they're done, you probably won't relax until you check on them again. The incomplete task keeps a gentle tug on your attention, reminding you that something needs finishing. Or perhaps you start writing a letter and leave it halfway. Your mind will likely nudge you, softly whispering the thought until you complete it or set it aside. It's as if your thoughts keep those loose ends lightly knotted, waiting for you to gently tie them off. This effect shows how your brain tracks things left undone, helping ensure you tie up loose ends. It can give you a little nudge to finish important tasks, but it also means you might carry a quiet background worry until you do. It's like a bookmark in your mind, gently reminding you where you left off. For example, you might remember that you must return a library book, but once you return it, the thought leaves you. Your mind didn't let it go until it was done. In this peaceful moment, be aware of any gentle reminders your mind is giving you about tasks. Once the task is done, feel that release. Remember, sometimes the best way to rest is to let your mind have closure. Now, with this understanding, let's drift to our final discovery tonight, nostalgia and rosy retrospection. Finally, let's visit how your mind gently tints the past with warmth. Nostalgia and rosy retrospection mean that your memories of the past often feel more positive than maybe they were. Imagine looking back at your childhood. You might remember summer afternoons as endlessly warm and carefree, even if there were moments of boredom or worry you now forget. Or think of an old friendship you recall the laughter and shared secrets more vividly than any small arguments you had. Perhaps you remember holidays as magical, even if you were just a bit tired by the end. The rough edges of the past often blur as your mind cherishes what felt like gentle moments. Your mind does this to wrap you in comfort. It's like putting on rose-colored glasses when you think about what's gone. The past becomes a cozy storybook instead of a cold memory. That can be a very soothing way to end our day. If you look around your room right now, maybe you see something from your past, a photo or a trinket. Notice how it glows in your memory. As you lie here, think of one happy memory from long ago. Notice how it feels even more beautiful now. Let that feeling wrap around you like a blanket. As the night deepens, rest in knowing that your mind's secret code has brought you these gentle truths. Each one is part of what makes you, you. Take a slow breath and let all these thoughts drift into peace as you settle into sleep. The Barnum effect. Have you ever read a horoscope or a personality test and thought, "This is so me," even though the descriptions seem vague? Our minds have a gentle tendency to take general statements and fold them into our identity, making them feel personal and true. This quiet trick is called the Barnum effect. It works because the words you read are broad enough to fit anyone, but your mind lovingly ties them to your own experiences. When you see a phrase like, "You sometimes feel insecure, yet you hide it well," it resonates because, deep down, everyone feels that way sometimes. Your brain is wonderful at finding patterns, even when none were intended. When someone tells you you're destined for something special, you might smile softly, believing the universe sent you a secret message meant only for you. In reality, we all like to think we are unique and understood. It's comforting to feel seen, to believe that a magazine, a fortune cookie, or a kind stranger knows the depths of your soul. The Barnum effect plays on your natural desire to connect and be known. When you read a positive statement and think, "That is me," you are reinforcing your own self-image. And when the same statement has a tiny criticism like, "You can be your own worst critic," you nod along because that too feels relatable. These simple sentences act like mirrors that reflect parts of everyone, making us all feel recognized. This phenomenon is not only found in horoscopes. You see it in advertisements and surveys that claim to know what you need or who you are. But just because it isn't deeply personal doesn't mean it can be meaningful. It's a reminder that you're a part of a larger human tapestry where many share the same hopes, fears, and dreams. Next time you read a fortune or a quiz result, enjoy the warm feeling it gives you. Smile at how your mind gently embraces these broad strokes and turns them into a painting that feels intimately yours. The Barnum effect is just another whisper of how beautifully your mind seeks connection and meaning. The halo effect. Think back to a time you met someone and felt an immediate warmth toward them. Maybe it was their warm smile or the way they greeted you. But whatever it was, it cast a gentle glow over everything they did. This soft glow is the halo effect. Your mind's way of taking one positive trait and letting it shine across their entire being. It's like when the sun peeks through the clouds and suddenly the whole landscape looks softer and brighter. One kind gesture, one friendly tone, one shared laugh, these can make you believe that the person is good at everything. And sometimes, without realizing it, you may overlook their flaws because that warm glow feels so comforting. This can work in reverse, too. If your first impression of someone is cold or awkward, that single detail might cast a shadow over everything else you learn about them. Your mind keeps that first feeling like a lens, and the lens colors your perception. This is because you're judgmental. It's your brain simplifying a complex world, trying to find patterns and keep you safe. Imagine being at a park where a stranger gives you directions with a calm tone. For the rest of your conversation, you might think, they must be helpful and patient, even though you don't know anything else about them. Or imagine a friend tells you about someone who made them laugh. When you finally meet, you might expect them to be funny and fun, and you'll likely notice every smile or joke they make, reinforcing that expectation. The halo effect reminds you that first impressions are powerful and lasting. It invites you to take a step back and remember that everyone is a mixture of kindness, quirks, and imperfections. When you catch yourself placing a halo on someone based on one trait, smile gently. Notice the warmth you feel, and then allow yourself to look deeper. This awareness can help you see people more fully, beyond the glow of that first impression, and appreciate the complexity and uniqueness that each person holds. The decoy effect. Imagine you're choosing between two items, a small popcorn for $3 and a large popcorn for $7. Suddenly, a third medium option appears for $6. Now the large popcorn seems like a better deal, even though you may not have considered it before. This is the decoy effect, a clever trick of the mind where the presence of a third, less appealing option makes one of the original choices look more attractive. Think about dining out with friends. Maybe you look at the menu and see a sandwich for $10 and a deluxe burger for $20. You might consider just getting the sandwich, but then you notice a second deluxe meal for $25 with extra toppings you don't want. Now the $20 burger seems like the perfect compromise, more reasonable than it first appeared. Marketers know this and use it to gently guide your decisions. In everyday life, you might experience this in subtle ways. In a clothing store, you might see two jackets, one plain and inexpensive, another stylish and pricey. A third jacket appears that is just as pricey but less stylish. Suddenly, the stylish one seems like a bargain. Or on a rainy day, you see two umbrella stands, one small, one large. A medium-sized stand appears with fewer features. Now, the large stand looks like the smart choice. It's not that the third option is meant for you. It is just there to gently push you toward a particular choice. This trick taps into your mind's need to compare things. Your brain loves to see differences and patterns. When one choice clearly beats the decoy, it seems like a winner. The decoy effect doesn't mean you're not thoughtful. It means you're human. It shows how your mind seeks simplicity in decisions by comparing things relative to one another. The next time you face several options and one seems like a great compromise, take a breath and ask yourself if there's a decoy in play. Understanding this gentle nudge can help you make choices that truly reflect what you want, not just what seems like the best deal on the surface. The Pygmalion effect. Do you remember a time when someone believed in you so much that you started to believe in yourself a little more? Maybe a teacher, a friend, or a family member saw potential in you, and suddenly you felt like you could reach new heights. This is the Pygmalion effect, named after the sculptor in Greek mythology who carved a statue so beautiful he fell in love with it and brought it to life. In psychology, it means that expectations can subtly guide reality. When someone expects you to succeed, you often rise to meet those expectations. Their belief in you acts like a gentle wind beneath your wings, lifting you higher. Think back to a time when someone underestimated you. Perhaps you felt discouraged and your performance dipped. It's not because you suddenly lost your abilities. It's because low expectations can quietly weigh you down. They seep into your mind and shape your actions and confidence. The Pygmalion effect works both ways. Positive expectations can inspire growth, while negative ones can stifle it. This effect shows up in schools, workplaces, and families. In class, a teacher's belief that a student can excel often leads the student to try harder, while a teacher's doubts may lead the student to avoid challenging tasks. At work, a manager who trusts their team's capabilities and encourages them to take on challenges often sees higher performance. And within families, when parents tell their child, "I know you can do this," the child may feel braver to face new adventures. It is a reminder that words and expectations carry weight. When you believe in someone, truly believe, from your heart you send them a message that they can accomplish more than they thought. And when you believe in yourself, you can also cultivate your own Pygmalion effect. Try whispering gentle encouragement to yourself. Picture someone who believes in you and let their expectations give you strength. Let them be that calm voice that tells you, yes, you can. You might just find yourself reaching heights you never imagined. The foot in the door phenomenon. Have you ever agreed to a small favor and later found yourself doing something bigger you never planned on? This is the foot in the door phenomenon, where saying yes to a tiny request makes it easier to say yes to a larger one. Imagine a charity volunteer knocks on your door and asks if you'd mind signing a petition. It's quick and easy, so you oblige. Later, they call back and ask if you could donate. Because you've already said yes once, your mind sees this as consistent, and you're more likely to agree. This phenomenon plays out in everyday life in gentle ways. Think about when a friend asks for a small favor like borrowing a pencil. After you say yes, they might ask if you can help them carry some books. You might feel inclined to say yes again because you already helped once. Your mind likes to remain consistent with your past actions, which creates a sense of harmony. You don't want to disappoint or appear unwilling, so your initial yes opens the door for another yes. Businesses sometimes use this technique too. You might sign up for a free trial of a streaming service, and after you've enjoyed a few episodes, you are more likely to subscribe. Or you might agree to answer a few survey questions at the mall and then find yourself giving more detailed feedback. It is not manipulation, it's just the way your mind works. Once you've said yes, your identity shifts a little. You see yourself as helpful or supportive, so you're more likely to stay true to that identity. This knowledge is meant to make you wary of every small request. It simply shows how your actions and self-perception intertwine. When you notice you're agreeing to something bigger, pause and consider if it truly aligns with your wishes. And in your own life, you can use this principle gently. Start with small steps when trying to form new habits. If you want to read more, commit to reading for 5 minutes each night. Once that S part of who you are, reading more becomes easier because you've already opened the door. The door in the face technique. Imagine you're strolling down the street when someone asks you for a big favor, like donating a large sum of money to a charity. You feel a bit overwhelmed and politely decline. But then the person immediately asks for something much smaller, like signing up for a newsletter. Suddenly, the smaller request doesn't seem so big, and you are more likely to agree. This gentle negotiation is called the door in the face technique. It works because the contrast between the large and small requests makes the smaller one seem reasonable and easy. This technique isn't just used by fundraisers and marketers. You might experience it in everyday interactions. A friend may ask you to help them move all weekend. When you say you can tea, they might ask if you can at least help for an hour. After turning down the bigger request, you feel more inclined to say yes to the smaller one, perhaps because you didn't want to appear unhelpful or because the smaller favor feels manageable. You might even use this technique on yourself without realizing it. Suppose you promise yourself you will exercise for an hour every day. If that feels daunting and you skip it, you might renegotiate by saying, "I'll just do a 10-minute walk." Suddenly, that shorter workout feels much more doable, and you're more likely to follow through. The contrast between the big plan and the small plan can make the smaller plan seem like a relief, encouraging you to stick with it. The door in the face technique works because of reciprocity and our desire to be fair. When someone reduces their request, you feel like they've made a compromise for you, and you want to reciprocate by agreeing. Recognizing this effect can help you make conscious choices. If you were faced with a big ask followed by a small one, consider if the smaller one is truly what you want. And when you need to ask for help, remember that starting with a larger request can sometimes make your actual need feel lighter in comparison, giving others a gentle way to say yes without feeling overwhelmed. The endowment effect. Think about something you own that might not be particularly special to anyone else, maybe an old mug, a worn-out t-shirt, or a book you've read many times. Chances are you value it more than someone who doesn't own it. This tender attachment is known as the endowment effect. Once something belongs to you, your mind gives it extra weight, as if it gained more worth simply by being yours. It might be a simple trinket or a drawing from a child, but owning it ties it into your story, and that connection makes it feel priceless. Imagine cleaning out a drawer and finding a movie ticket stub from years ago. It's just a small piece of paper, but suddenly you remember the movie, the popcorn, the laughter. You might even place the ticket back in the drawer because throwing it away feels like discarding a memory. That's the endowment effect in action. It's not just about objects. It's about the meaning they carry because you've made them part of your life. Marketers understand this too. When you try on a new jacket at a store, you might start to imagine yourself wearing it in different settings. Even that small sense of ownership can make it harder to walk away without buying it. Similarly, when you test drive a car, you picture it parked outside your house. The longer you imagine owning it, the more connected you feel. The endowment effect can sometimes hold you back from letting go of things you no longer need. Maybe you keep that old chair because it's yours, even though it's uncomfortable. Or you hesitate to recycle a collection of cups because they have been with you for years. Knowing about this effect can help you make thoughtful choices. If an object doesn't serve you anymore, remember its worth lies in the memories you hold, not in the object itself. You can keep the memories in your heart while letting go of the items that no longer bring you joy. Embracing this gentle release can make space for new experiences and treasures in your life. Loss aversion. Have you ever noticed that losing $10 feels worse than finding $10 feels good? This quiet imbalance is called loss aversion. Your mind tends to feel the pain of a loss more strongly than the pleasure of a gain. It is a gentle bias rooted deep within, a way your brain tries to keep you safe. From an evolutionary perspective, losses could have meant hunger or danger, so your mind responds strongly to anything that resembles losing. This bias shows up in many parts of life. Perhaps you've held on to a pair of shoes you rarely wear because you don't want to lose them, even though letting them go could make room for something you truly enjoy. Or maybe you invest time in a hobby that no longer excites you simply because you've already invested so much energy into it. You might resist switching to a new phone plan because you fear you might lose something in the change, even if there are clear benefits. Loss aversion whispers. Hold on, don't to risk losing what you have, even when letting go could bring something better. This tendency can shape bigger decisions too. Investors often hold on to stocks that are falling, hoping to avoid the pain of selling at a loss, even if moving funds could lead to gains elsewhere. Or someone might stay in a job that no longer fits because leaving feels like losing something, even if a new opportunity could bring more joy. Loss aversion keeps us anchored to the familiar, reminding us of what we might lose, not of what we might gain. Recognizing this bias can help you move beyond fear. When you notice that the thought of losing something is holding you back, pause and breathe. Ask yourself gently, what am I holding on to? Is the fear of loss guiding my choices? Sometimes, Focusing on what you might gain can gently tip the scales. It doesn't mean ignoring the pain of loss, it means balancing it with the possibility of something new and wonderful. With this awareness, you can make decisions that honor both the comfort of familiarity and the promise of growth. The IKEA effect. Have you ever assembled a piece of furniture yourself and felt an extra sense of pride in it, even if it isn't perfect? This feeling is known as the IKEA effect, where people tend to value things more when they've had a hand in creating them. It isn't just about furniture. It can be a batch of cookies you baked or a garden you planted. The process of crafting or assembling something infuses it with your energy and time, making it feel uniquely yours. Imagine spending an afternoon building a bookshelf. You might fumble through instructions, tighten screws, and maybe even miss a few steps. When it is finished, you notice that one shelf is a bit crooked or the paint has a tiny chip. Yet, you smile each time you look at it because you made it with your own hands. That crooked shelf becomes a charm rather than a flaw. This is the IKEA effect. Your effort turns the object into a piece of yourself. This effect shows how our brains tie value to effort. Businesses harness it by selling meal kits that require chopping vegetables or mixing ingredients. The dishes taste more delicious to you because you prepared them. People who grow their own vegetables often feel more satisfied when eating them compared to store-bought produce. It's not about saving money or time. It's about the deep connection formed through the act of creation. This understanding can encourage you to take on projects that might seem daunting. If you are hesitant to start a new hobby because it feels too complex, remember that the satisfaction comes from the process itself. Whether you're learning to knit, building a small table, or painting a wall, your involvement makes the final result feel special. The IKEA effect celebrates the imperfect beauty of things made by human hands. It reminds us that there is joy in doing things ourselves, even if we make mistakes along the way. It has a gentle nudge to try, to create, and to appreciate the things we put our hearts into. The mere ownership effect. Have you ever noticed how owning something can make it feel more valuable to you than it might actually be? This is the mere ownership effect. Simply having an object in your possession can make you feel emotionally attached to it, even if you didn't choose it or use it much. It's like the object becomes part of your story the moment it enters your life. Imagine being handed a free keychain at an event. It might not be valuable or particularly useful, but because it is yours, it feels special. You might keep it in a drawer instead of throwing it away just because it is yours. Or think of a souvenir from a distant trip that sits on your shelf collecting dust. You rarely notice it, yet the thought of giving it away feels like letting go of a memory. Your mind gently ties your sense of identity to the things you own, making them feel more meaningful than their market value. This effect can manifest in surprising ways. Perhaps you've noticed that after buying a car, you see the same model everywhere. Part of this is the frequency illusion, but part of it is the mere ownership effect. The car now means something to you. It connects you to others with the same car, fostering a sense of belonging. Or maybe you've put on an old sweater you've had for years. Even if the color is faded and it tastes slightly worn, you might value it more than a brand new one because of the memories woven into the fabric. Recognizing this effect helps you understand why it's sometimes hard to let go of things. It's not just about the object itself, it's about your relationship with it. When you declutter or donate, you might feel an initial resistance because each item holds a tiny piece of your story. If you find it difficult to part with something, ask yourself gently if it's the item you need or the memory. Often, you can keep the memory alive without holding on to the physical object. The mere ownership effect reminds you that while your possessions can feel comforting, your sense of self comes from within, not from what you own. FOMO, fear of missing out. Have you ever scrolled through social media and felt a twinge of jealousy or anxiety because everyone else seemed to be having more fun than you? That uneasy feeling is often called FOMO, the fear of missing out. It comes from the sense that everyone else is experiencing something exciting, something you're not part of. It's like watching a party through a window and feeling like you're on the outside looking in. This feeling can creep up when you see friends traveling while you stay home, when you hear about a job opportunity you didn't apply for, or when an event sells out before you bought tickets. Your mind worries that by missing this chance, you're missing a moment that could bring happiness or connection. In truth, we all feel FOMO from time to time. It's part of being human and wanting to belong. FOMO can sometimes be a gentle nudge, reminding you to reach out to friends or explore new activities. But it can also lead to restlessness and dissatisfaction. You might overcommit to events, spread yourself too thin, or constantly check your phone, worried that you are missing something. Yet the truth is, you can be everywhere at once. Life is a flow of choices, and with each yes, there must be a no. If you go to one event, you miss another. If you choose one job, you let go of different opportunities. FOMO tells you the grass is greener elsewhere, but often contentment comes from nurturing the lawn you're on. Next time you feel FOMO creeping in, pause. Notice the sensation without judgment. Ask yourself, what am I truly longing for? Connection, adventure, love. Often, FOMO masks a deeper need. Instead of chasing every opportunity, try fulfilling that need in a way that fits your life right now. Maybe it's scheduling a coffee with a friend or exploring a hobby you've been curious about. Embrace JOMO, the joy of missing out where you find contentment in your choices and trust that you're exactly where you need to be. Let your fears of missing out transform into peace in the present moment. The Ben Franklin effect. Imagine someone asking you for a small favor, like borrowing a book or helping them carry something. You might think doing this will make them feel grateful to you. But interestingly, it often works the other way around. When you do something for someone, you tend to like them more. This is known as the Ben Franklin effect, named after a story about the American statesman who asked a rival for the favor of lending him a rare book. Surprisingly, after returning the book, the rival's opinion of Franklin softened, and they became friends. The Ben Franklin effect shows how your mind justifies your actions. When you do a favor for someone, it sends a gentle message to yourself that you must have done it because you like them. Otherwise, why would you have helped? It's a way your mind seeks consistency between your actions and your feelings. You treat someone kindly, so you must like them, and because you like them, you continue to be kind. This positive cycle can deepen relationships, turning strangers into acquaintances and acquaintances into friends. You might notice this in your own life. Perhaps you didn't feel particularly close to a colleague, but when they asked for help and you said yes, your perception changed. Suddenly, you noticed their good qualities more. This effect also works in reverse. If someone goes out of their way to help you, they might subconsciously justify their kindness by feeling closer to you. The act of giving or helping can create a bond that wasn't there before. The Ben Franklin effect can teach you to seek connection through generosity. If you are struggling to build a bridge with someone, consider asking them for a small favor. It may feel counterintuitive, but letting them do something for you can open up space for mutual appreciation. And remember that when you help someone, it is not just about being nice. It is a way of weaving your lives together. Each act of kindness is like a thread, and as you exchange small favors, those threads combine into a strong, beautiful tapestry of friendship. The curse of knowledge. Have you ever tried explaining something you know well, only to see confusion in the other person's eyes. It can be frustrating to simplify what feels simple to you. This difficulty is called the curse of knowledge. When you are an expert in a subject, your mind forgets what it's like not to know. You skip over basics, use jargon, or assume others see connections as easily as you do. This isn't because you lack empathy. It's because your brain rewires itself around the knowledge you've gained, making it hard to imagine life before you knew it. This effect shows up in many places. A math teacher might explain a complicated concept, forgetting how daunting it felt at first. A software developer might talk about APIs and frameworks to someone unfamiliar with coding, not realizing those terms are like a foreign language. Even in families, parents might assume children understand adult reasoning, forgetting how confusing certain situations can be when you are young. The curse of knowledge can create unintentional gaps between people. Being aware of this effect can help you communicate more gently. When you teach or share information, try to remember how it felt to learn it. Pause and check in. Does this make sense? Use analogies and stories that relate new ideas to things others already know. And if you read the learner, remember it's okay to ask questions. Your confusion is a natural result of not having the same knowledge. It doesn't mean you're not smart. It means you're human. The curse of knowledge also invites you to remain curious and humble. No matter how much you know, there is always more to learn. When you share what you know, be mindful of the journey others are on. Think of knowledge like a ladder. Each rung matters, and you can reach the top without stepping on the lower ones. As you remember the steps you took, you can guide others gently, offering a hand and a smile on their climb. This perspective fosters empathy, making every exchange of knowledge an opportunity for connection rather than confusion. The misattribution of arousal. Have you ever been on a roller coaster with someone and afterward felt closer to them? Or perhaps you mistook the flutter in your heart from a scary movie for feelings of attraction. This is the misattribution of arousal. When your mind confuses the source of your heightened physical state, your body responds to excitement, fear, and even exercise in similar ways. Your heart races, your palms sweat, your breath quickens. Sometimes your mind labels these sensations as love, attraction, or interest when they were actually caused by something else. Picture going for a brisk walk across a high bridge. Your heartbeat quickens and your body feels alert. When you run into someone you find mildly attractive, those physical sensations may amplify your feelings. You might think, wow, I really like them, when part of what you're feeling is actually the adrenaline from the height. Or imagine giving a public speech with sweaty palms and a fast heartbeat. If someone compliments you afterward, you might feel a stronger connection than usual because your body is already buzzing. This doesn't mean your feelings are fake. It just means your body and mind work together in fascinating ways. Recognizing misattribution can help you understand your emotions more clearly. If you notice strong feelings after an intense experience, pause and ask yourself, where is this coming from? If you were just on a thrilling ride or finished a workout, part of your arousal might be from that activity rather than the person beside you. Knowing about this effect can also help you create positive experiences. If you want to bond with someone, doing something exciting together can deepen your connection because your bodies and minds intertwine the sensations. A hike, a dance class, or a challenge like building something together can elevate your heart rate and your sense of closeness. Ultimately, the misattribution of arousal is a reminder that emotions are a dance between your mind and body. Understanding this dance gives you the insight to appreciate the rhythms and the freedom to interpret them with clarity and kindness. The peak end rule. Think about the last vacation you took. You might not remember every moment, but you probably recall the highest point of joy or excitement and the very end. This is the peak end rule. Your mind tends to judge experiences by their most intense moment and by how they ended, rather than by averaging every part. Your memory is like a highlight reel, focusing on the peaks in the finale. Imagine going out to dinner at a new restaurant. The appetizers are mediocre, but the main dish is exquisite and the dessert is sublime. When you tell friends about the dinner, you rave about how amazing it was. The peak, the delicious main course, and the end, the sweet dessert, color your memory, while the average courses fade. This happens with less pleasant experiences too. A day at the beach may be wonderful, but if you get a sunburn at the end, you might remember the trip through that sting. Or a work meeting may drag on, but if the final minutes are productive and positive, you might recall the meeting as better than it was. This rule can guide how you design your experiences. When planning a party, for example, think about creating a memorable peak, perhaps a heartfelt speech or a fun game, and a warm farewell at the end. The beginning and middle matter, but the highlights and the finish leave lasting impressions. When tackling a chore, like cleaning a room, you can make the end rewarding by lighting a scented candle or playing your favorite song so that the final moments feel pleasant. The peak end rule invites you to be mindful of how you close chapters in your life. When you wrap up a day, a project, or a conversation, consider ending on a positive note. It could be as simple as expressing gratitude or taking a moment to breathe deeply. Those final moments will shape how you remember the entire experience. Understanding this can help you focus on creating bright peaks and soothing endings, making your everyday moments feel more meaningful and memorable. The vividness effect. Imagine hearing a story about a distant place you've never visited. One story uses bland facts and details, while another paints a picture with colors, scents, and sounds. Which one sticks in your mind, the one that feels vivid? The vividness effect refers to your mind's tendency to remember things that stand out, stories, images, or experiences that are unusual, colorful, or emotionally charged. These impressions imprint themselves on your memory, often eclipsing more mundane details. Think back to a childhood memory. Perhaps you remember the bright red dress your teacher wore on the day she read your favorite story, or the sound of your grandfather's laughter echoing through a hallway. You may have forgotten what you had for lunch that day, but those vivid details remain. This effect is why emotional stories and dramatic news headlines grab our attention. Your brain is wired to store information that feels important, and vividness is one signal it uses to decide what matters. In your day-to-day life, vivid experiences might be as simple as the first bloom of spring after a long winter, or a kind word from a stranger when you least expect it. When something out of the ordinary happens, it stands out against the backdrop of routine. This can affect your perceptions too. If you hear about a rare event, like a plane crash, it might feel more common than it actually is because the images are vivid. Meanwhile, ordinary events like safe flights fade into the background even though they occur more frequently. Knowing about the vividness effect can help you focus on what truly matters. When making decisions, pause and ask yourself if you're reacting to something because it's vivid or because it's genuinely important. It also reminds you to create vivid moments in your own life. You don't need big adventures. Vividness can come from small things like lighting a candle during dinner, taking a different route on your walk, or trying a new recipe. These little bursts of color and flavor add texture to your memory, making your life feel richer and more vibrant. The power of touch. Remember the last time someone placed a comforting hand on your shoulder or gave you a warm hug when you needed it? Touch has a unique power to communicate care and support without words. It is one of the most primal forms of connection, and yet in our modern world, we sometimes overlook its importance. A gentle touch can calm your nerves, brighten your mood, and even build trust between strangers. From the moment we reborn, touch plays a vital role in our development. Babies thrive when they're held and cuddled. As adults, the need for touch doesn't disappear. A handshake can set the tone for a meeting, a pat on the back can boost your confidence, and a hug can comfort you after a hard day. Scientists have found that touch can release oxytocin, sometimes called the love hormone, which helps you feel more connected and less stressed. Think about times when you felt anxious in a new situation. A friend's hand squeeze might have reassured you. Or maybe you've comforted a loved one by simply holding their hand. Touch conveys empathy that words sometimes can tee. It says, "I'm here with you," in a language that doesn't need translation. Even small touches like brushing away a stray hair for someone's face can strengthen bonds. However, touch is nuanced and personal. Everyone has their own comfort level, and it is important to be mindful of boundaries. The power of touch comes from its sincerity and respect. A hug given without consent or a touch when someone isn't ready can have the opposite effect, creating discomfort. The key is to be aware of the other person's needs and signals. As you move through life, remember the quiet magic of touch. When appropriate, offer a hug, a hand on the back, or a gentle squeeze to those you care about. If you are feeling isolated, consider connecting through touch with a pet, a soft blanket, or even placing a hand over your own heart. Embracing the power of touch can enrich your relationships and nurture your well-being in ways words cannot. The flow state. Have you ever been so immersed in a task that hours passed by without you noticing? You were fully present, thoughts and actions seamlessly aligned, and everything felt effortless. This is the flow state, a psychological sweet spot where you feel both focused and free. It's the zone athletes talk about, where the game slows down and they move with precision. Artists, writers, and musicians experience it when their work seems to flow from their fingertips. Even everyday tasks like cooking or gardening can lead to flow when you're fully engaged and enjoying the process. Flow happens when your skills are perfectly matched to the challenge at hand. If the task is too easy, you get bored. If it is too hard, you become anxious. But when it is just right, stretching you without overwhelming you, you find yourself in that magical middle. Imagine learning a new song on a piano. At first, the notes are difficult. You practice, stumble, and then slowly, your fingers know where to go without thinking. You lose yourself in the music. That is flow. In your daily life, you might reach flow while writing in a journal, solving a puzzle, or even walking in nature. The world around you fades as you enter a rhythm. Your sense of time may distort. An hour can feel like minutes. Flow brings a deep sense of satisfaction and joy, not just because you complete something, but because the journey feels meaningful. Cultivating flow involves clearing distractions and setting clear goals. If you want to find flow in reading, choose a quiet space and a book that interests you. If you seek flow in exercise, pick an activity that challenges you just enough, like a new dance class or a hike. Flow also thrives on curiosity. Try new hobbies or revisit old ones with a fresh perspective. Be patient with yourself. Allowing mistakes is part of the process. When you find flow, embrace it as a gift. It is a reminder of what it feels like to be fully alive and present, savoring the harmony of challenge and skill.